So welcome back to the Discovery series and to day 8 of part 3. Now in the last few days we've been looking at this idea of emotions and mental states coming and going. Hopefully now you're starting to get a better idea of the pattern of emotions and also the pattern of change in the mind. You're starting to see how, although some emotions feel as though they're around all the time, as though they feel very permanent, in fact, they come and they go. Like everything else in life, they're always changing. Now, some emotions will always come back. In fact, you may have a pattern of emotion which makes it feel as though the emotion is always there. But if you can remember to notice those times when it's not around, then you reinforce that experience, that understanding of the impermanent nature of the emotion, that like everything else is subject to change. Now, as you've been noting, you may well have discovered that on some days it's as though you're just noting the same mental state over and over again. That doesn't mean you're doing anything wrong. Sometimes there can be, or certain emotions can have a little bit of momentum behind them. And it's as though all of our thinking sort of reflects that tone, that emotional tone. But do always make sure that you don't assume that it's going to be the same as before, that each time you realize you've been distracted, you really do step back, look at the mind afresh to find out how the mind is in this moment. So just something to bear in mind as you do the exercise today. But as always, just taking a minute or so just to settle yourself in the chair, to get comfortable. Remember sitting upright and yet relaxed. Eyes open. And when you're ready, just taking some deep breaths in through the nose and out through the mouth. And with the next exhalation, just gently closing the eyes and just allowing the breath to return to its natural rhythm, in and out through the nose. Starting to notice those physical points of contact, in particular the weight of the body, just pressing against the chair. Soles of the feet on the floor. And the hands and the arms on the legs. Take a moment to notice any sounds. Starting off with those very close. And then just expanding your awareness, just taking in the sounds from further afield as well. And then bringing the attention back to the body. Just starting to notice how the body's feeling today. whether there's a light, energetic feeling to the body, or perhaps a slightly dull or heavy feeling in the body. Whether the body feels very still today, or whether there's a feeling of restlessness or agitation in the body. It's not trying to change it, just noticing the nature of that feeling as you start at the top of the head and then just scan your way down through the body, just building up a more detailed picture of how the different parts of the body feel. At the same time, just beginning to notice the emotional quality of the mind at this particular moment in time. Just briefly pausing to reflect on why you're doing what you're doing. What's your motivation for doing this exercise today? Who are the people in your life who you're hoping will receive some benefit from this exercise as well as yourself? And then just reminding yourself, as always, that this exercise is about stepping back, allowing a process to unfold. You don't need to do anything, you don't need to try. It's just watching, noticing, with a focused yet relaxed state of mind. So just allowing the attention now to drift down to that rising and falling sensation of the breath, noticing where in the body you feel that movement most clearly. As you settle into the rhythm of that breath, just starting to notice how each one is different from the last. And remembering that as you note or name the mental states, the emotions that distract the mind in some way, that it's important not to rush to try and label them, to try and note them. Instead, to really step back, to pause, to be interested and curious, not to think about it. You're stepping back to gain a greater perspective so you can watch it in a more complete and whole way. But when you're ready, and if you find it useful, you can just start to count the breaths as they pass. Otherwise, just maintaining your attention on that rising and falling sensation. And just continuing in that way now. And now just letting the mind wander off to do whatever it wants to do. If it wants to think, let it think. If it wants to stay still, let it stay still. So no effort, no control. Just letting it do whatever it wants to do. And then just bringing the attention back to the body, back to those physical points of contact, to the feeling of the weight of the body. Noticing any sounds. Start off with those further away and then just slowly bringing the attention, the awareness closer towards you as you become more aware with what's around you. And in your own time, just opening the eyes, but just maintaining that position just for a moment. Think back to yesterday. How far did you get before your mind wandered? Today, just putting in that intention to carry that awareness with you to the next activity and then throughout the day. But before you begin the rest of your day or evening, just take a moment to sit back in the chair and just to appreciate how good that feels. How different you feel now compared to before the meditation. Yeah, meditation is not a miracle cure. It's not something that will necessarily change emotions or will always quieten a busy mind. But what it does is bring a greater sense of awareness, and with that awareness comes clarity. And more often than not, with clarity comes a feeling of calm. So these two aspects of meditation, calm and clarity, are working together. The more you have a sense of calm, the more clarity you'll have, and vice versa. But of course, working with these mental states, with these emotions, it's important as you go through the day to continue to be aware of them and continue to note in just the same way as you do during the exercise. In this way, you start to see your own patterns. You start to see that there's a lot of perhaps happiness, or there's a lot of anxiety, or there's a lot of sadness, whatever it might be. There's no right or wrong. This isn't about judging it or changing it. It's simply noticing as it is in the moment. And when you do that, something really, really wonderful starts to happen. But you need to actually do it to see that change. For now, though, I'll look forward to seeing you back here tomorrow